Hi guys, welcome back. We're going to continue on with my skull here, going through the structures. This time we're going to be specific to the different bones. So we'll start out with the frontal bone. So, wrong way. So the frontal bone here is the brownish bone. And there's only one structure that you need to know on that. So I'm looking at it right now, and it's the supraorbital notch, or also called supraorbital foramen. So I want you to see that it is above the orbit. So if it's above the socket of the eye or the orbit of the eye, then it is this little structure here above each eye that's going to allow the passage of a nerve. You can feel it on yourselves. So if you come up here, you'll feel a little notch right above the eye. And it's either, in some people it's a notch, which means it's a slit, and in some it's a hole. And it's the passage of a nerve that's coming from the brain out towards the forehead. So it's just that little hole or notch. In this guy, he's got the notch on one side and the hole on the other, just so that you can get an idea that they can be either or. Okay, and that's the only thing you need to know on this frontal bone. The second bone is the parietal bones, and on that one you need to know the temporal lines, and that was the green, and I want you to skip that one because it's not very evident on this skeleton, not always evident on all the pictures that you'll be looking at. So skip that, and we will move on to the temporal bones. And in the temporal bone, so yellow, okay, we're going to start by looking at this pokey, stick out piece of bone. Okay, and if it's pokey, remember your vocab list, refer to that vocabulary list that I gave you with the insies and the outsies. So that looks like a pen tip, so it is a styloid process. That is the styloid process. And close to the styloid process is a big hole there, and we don't call it a hole, correct? It's the external acoustic meatus. And meatus is truly a hole that doesn't go all the way through. So that is for hearing, right? That's where your hearing is going to come in right over the ear. External acoustic meatus. Also in this vicinity here, this is sort of worn off from students touching it here, is the mastoid process. And that you can feel on yourself too. Behind your jaw, you're going to feel something behind the ear. Go behind the jaw and behind the ear, and you'll feel a big bump, and that is the mastoid process. Mandibular fossa. So this is where the mandible is coming in. I've removed the mandible here, but right where my finger is there is where the mandible would be inserted, and so that's a fossa for the mandible. A fossa for the mandible is called a mandibular fossa. Okay, good. The next structure is the zygomatic process. So now we're going to look in a different place. We're still on the yellow bone, remember? And it's going to have a branch that comes out of the yellow bone, reaching yet a different bone here. So it is this arm, right? This arm that you're seeing that's reaching out to the other bone, that is the zygomatic process. That other bone is your zygomatic bone, your cheekbone. So that extension of the temporal bone towards the zygomatic is called the zygomatic process. Now we're going to look interiorly, and you notice inside here, let's see if it looks like a mountain range. It's a big ledge that comes up, and that ledge, because it looks like a mountain, I can show you the other side too, on both sides, is petrous. Petrous means rock. So that is the petrous portion. And all your hearing mechanism, your neurons that are coming in to the ear, are going to be inside that rock formation. okay, inside the petrous portion. It's also called petrous part. And if we had an external acoustic meatus, it's got to come inside to the inside, and there will be an internal acoustic meatus that's kind of coming off the petrous portion, off the mountainside. Okay, I have my pen in it, and that is the internal acoustic meatus. Remember, you're going to look at this also on lots of other drawings, so you'll see lots of angles and pictures of this. In your Connect, you'll be able to see it, in your book, and then any other source that you want to look at that you might have on your app, for example. And then the last one on this is the carotid canal. So for that, yeah, I think I'm going to leave that one for later and show you all the holes, because the carotid canal is a hole that's going to allow for the carotid to go through. And that's a little bit harder without a very long stick that I'll use to try and show you all of those. So I'm going to leave that one for the next video, okay, when I start talking about the sphenoid. Okay, thanks for listening.